This is Anne Butler, the Book Griffin. Welcome to the podcast. When a protagonist finds out accidentally that their other half hadn't married them for love, is probably my favourite of all the romantic fiction tropes. He married her to get his hands on her shares, or because his family needed an alliance with her family, or, my favourite of all, for revenge. It makes me sound like a terrible person, I know, but in the hands of a good storyteller, I love reading these stories and seeing how they play out. I've searched my brain and my romance stash, but I can't find an instance where it was the man on the pointy end of this setup. He's the one who usually has ulterior motives for marrying her. From the very first one that I read back in the 1980s, and I even remember the title, it was called Betrayal in Bali. I have gravitated to stories where a hidden agenda marriage drives the narrative. So, for those listeners who are unfamiliar, the setup usually goes like this. There's a whirlwind romance. He sweeps her to the altar, and sometime during the reception, or maybe once they've arrived at their honeymoon destination, she overhears a conversation, or he carelessly leaves a document open on his device. On their honeymoon, I hear you ask? Yeah, romance trope land. Suspend all disbelief. So she finds out, she confronts him, and the storyteller spends the rest of the time contriving reasons why she just doesn't tell him about himself and walk out. My ultimate favourite, though, is when she doesn't find out until weeks or months later. Usually during that time, his behaviour towards her has changed and she can't quite work out why. He ignores her or gaslights her when she calls him out. When she does find out why he married her, she overhears a conversation or he carelessly leaves a document open on his unlocked screen. More often than not, she doesn't confront him immediately. Instead, the author has her turning the tables by plotting how to get back at him. By now, she knows him well enough to know exactly where and how to strike. When the author has her remain strong right up until the moment when she leaves his arse, forcing him to come grovelling because, of course, by now he has really fallen in love with her. For me, that slush is pure magic. Danny Collins, Natasha Anders, and Lucy Monroe are among the authors who are very skilled at delivering this type of setup. If you're considering a story with this trope, though, please check out the reviews. Some novels deliver this better than others. When it's done badly, the protagonists, usually the woman, just come off as childish. I read a story recently where the author tried to make him not sound like such a shit by making out that he thought she knew all along why he was marrying her, but was only pretending not to know, completely breaking a later scene where we find out that he and everyone else around her had been keeping important information related to why he proposed in the first place, a secret from her, meaning she could not have known that she'd been lied to. I threw my hands up at this point, especially as the author of that particular story is someone I expect better from. So, read the reviews before you dive in, but do dive in. Thanks for listening. You have been listening to Anne Butler, the Book Griffin. Please hit like if you enjoyed this episode. Subscribe to receive notification of new episodes. You can also find me on Instagram by searching for The Book Griffin.